An interview with Laury Adams, creator of the Divorce Savvy program. That is your topic for today on Manousso Musing with seasoned mediator trainer Dr. Barbara Manousso. Welcome to the Lawyers and Mediators International Show and Podcast by InstantMediations.com, where we discuss law and conflict resolution topics to educate both professionals and everyday people. Catch regular episodes on YouTube, the Instant Mediations app, and anywhere you get your podcasts. Just remember, nothing in these episodes constitutes legal advice, so be sure to talk to a lawyer, as cases are fact-dependent. Hey everyone, this is Mac attorney, mediator, and arbitrator working throughout Florida and Texas.
And Natalia Łowska-Czajka, advocate, mediator, and arbitrator from Warsaw, Poland. But today in Galveston, just before the district court that's here.
And I'm Dr. Barbara Sunderland Manousso in Houston, Texas, and Newport, Rhode Island. And I'm a trainer as well as practitioner. And I am just thrilled today to introduce our guest on Manousso Musing, Laury Adams. And Laury Adams is based in Houston, Texas, and she has been the founder of the Adams Mediation and Financial Resource Center since 1979. She's one of the first and most experienced family mediators that we're fortunate to have, who has been a mentor to so many people around the world. And she has developed a program called Divorce Savvy. And we're going to talk about that today because she was one of the first, she was the first, not one of the first, she was the first to develop this strong software to help families have the business arrangement that they need for a divorce. And I also want to mention that Laury has been president of many of the ADR, mediation and arbitration organizations nationally as well as locally. And she has been recognized by everyone for her work. So today, Laury Adams, welcome to Manousso Musing. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Barbara. It's always a pleasure to do work with you and for you. And of course, I've participated in your mediation trainings, and you really are committed to excellence in our profession. And I thank you for that. So it gives me great pleasure also to be able to talk about Divorce Savvy.
That made my... Laury, let me ask you a question so people understand what Divorce Savvy is. I gave a little lead in a moment ago that, of course, it's one of the best tools. It's something I use all the time. And this is a auditory as well, so not so much visual for you to be able to show it. But talk about why you developed Divorce Savvy and what are some of the principles that make it so important and so user-friendly for any mediator?
Well, that was the purpose in Divorce Savvy, to make it user-friendly for people going through divorce. There is no other software in our nation that will enable the clients to do the work themselves. And so they spend thousands of dollars with their attorneys dragging in their financial documents when they really are the ones who know their finances the best. So in 1996, I teamed with Lee Borden, who was an attorney in Birmingham, Alabama, and we first started talking about our values and our mission. And we said what we really needed to do was to fulfill the needs of our clients. So what were the needs of our clients? They needed information. They wanted to reduce conflict during their divorce. They also wanted control of the process, but they wanted to save money as well as all of the other things. So that's why we started developing the software, which was originally called Plans for Party. We sold this as a kit on the internet, and my dream was always to be able to sell the program directly to the clients so that they could go ahead and enter all of their own information. And nowadays, there are many more clients who are familiar with the Excel software. So I always give my clients a choice. And of course, we sell this throughout the nation on Divorce Savvy. The good thing, Barbara, is that there's a 7-minute instructional video that people can watch. So they don't have to register, they don't have to pay anything for that, but they get a lot of information by watching that 7-minute instructional video.
Wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
So you developed this tool and it serves
Oh.
many people for many years now. So the question is then, is it mainly for attorneys or is it for the parties themselves? And how does it work? Apart from the instructional video, some people will be just listening to this podcast and they would want to know the idea. And how I understood this entire thing was that it lists the assets of the parties and help them realize what they have and how they want to divide what was the matrimonial property. Am I right?
That's correct. Let me start in the beginning with your questions. First of all, it's for both the attorneys and the clients, and it's meant to use for one case. So either the client or the attorney can start with this. So oftentimes my clients will enter all of their own information before they ever see me. In the program itself, they'll get 2 files. One is a Microsoft Word file with complete instructions on how they're to fill out the Excel worksheets. The other file is an Excel file. And yes, I think you have that right now. And that is the video that people can watch. So then in the program, they get the Word file with the instructions and then also the Excel file with the worksheets. So that's where they enter all of their information. My clients send that to me before I ever see them so that I can assess the case and I can customize my service to their needs. There are also parenting plan files in here in the Excel part of it, so that if people have children, they can start working on the parenting plan, which is another big advantage for them. We want people working together as much as possible. Mm-hmm.
So, Laury, thank you so much, for the
Uh-huh.
work you've done. I met you several years ago. Actually, had a quick,
Right.
I guess, face-to-face with you in your office. Don't know if you remember. That
Yes,
was the
I do
first.
remember. You're
Yes, that was the.
unforgettable. You're unforgettable.
Thank you. That was the first time I learned about Divorce Savvy, and it was interesting because there's so much that goes into making sure there's accurate division of marital estate property, and especially in Texas where we live in a community property state. So behind us, we're in front of a courthouse, right? Natalia and I are in Galveston, Texas, in front of the district court out here. And so it stands for the symbol of justice and the rule of law and judges hearing every day people resolve disputes over property. He said, she said, business property, assets. What do you have to say to lawyers? Because you sometimes deal with non-lawyers and you might sell your kid to them. But what about attorneys? Can they also use this? And what are the benefits in there for them?
Yes, certainly the attorneys can use it because sometimes their clients don't know Excel. So if they start loading the information in, it gives them a really, really good visual. And I think the one thing in making divorce understandable to people is to give them a visual so they have a picture. It's a photograph of where they stand with assets and with liabilities. The other thing that is an advantage with Divorce Savvy, it always connects the debt with the asset. So often we see financial statements, and the financial statements might list all the assets in one list and then all the liabilities on the other list. But this will connect the two so that if there's a mortgage on the house, that mortgage will be deducted from the current market value of the house. The same thing is true with cars. So if you put in the value of a car and then the loan value on that, you'll come out with a net a net value. So this is very, very advantageous when you're looking at a property division. So once you get all the net assets, then we start doing husband and wife column. One of the things that I try not to do is try not to use the words fair or equitable. And that may seem strange in a divorce because everybody's looking for what's fair and what's equitable. First of all, a mediator never does know. But when you're sitting in the room with two clients, I mean, there's three different views of what's fair and equitable. So I try not to use those words, and I try to focus on the needs of the client. So if the attorneys have this software, they're advocating, of course, for their client. But again, I think it's more beneficial if you look at the needs of the client rather than what's fair and equitable. So,
Laurie, I've really enjoyed your software. And as a mediator who is not an attorney, I do get a lot of pro se cases, people that are not represented by attorneys. There are people that call me. And I recommend that each party purchase your Divorce Savvy and not do it together. They're already contentious. And if they work together, I think it sometimes builds more of a barrier between them. So by them each having that opportunity to go through your Divorce Savvy, what you've done that I think is absolutely brilliant is that it's a complete outline for any mediator, so nothing is missing. Nothing is worse than somebody going through a whole divorce and spending hours, and then they realize they've forgotten an important part of their financial information or something that really needs to be looked at. And then when they come to the mediation, then I take the one that seems to be most complete. I always project it on a wall, and then the parties are sitting facing the wall. They're not facing me. So they are both focused on each item as they go through their Divorce Savvy. And I just think it's brilliant. It's just so comprehensive. So with that being said, what are some tricks or ways that you work with the clients? That's how I work with the clients with your Divorce Savvy. And we're all marching in the same direction, but sometimes that different flavor of how a mediator might use the skill set. What would you recommend? How do you use your Divorce Savvy? And you've already mentioned a little bit, but maybe expand on that a little bit, please.
Well, when my clients call in, I explain what the program is, and then I ask if they can work on it together. If they can work on it together, that alleviates that one step of you trying to get everything into one file. Factor to work together to gather the information to get it all into one file. So I think it's a beneficial process, especially to proceed in the parenting plan. So, there can be a lot of conflict in parenting, but if they can get this file together and start working on their finances, it really is a wonderful part of the whole process because it's more cooperative. So that's what you really want to encourage, the cooperation of the clients. And I think the Divorce Savvy does that if they can work together. But you're right, if they each look at it separately, then in a high conflict case, that could be advantageous.
But let me just add, and I just want to follow up on why I said that separately. Also, sometimes one of the parties is less informed of what the finances are. So it makes them look a little closer to, so they sign their taxes sometimes and they don't read it. or they really don't have an understanding. So the reason I like them to do it separately is so they can feel 100% informed. And then they come back together. I keep my clients together when I go through a divorce. I don't keep them in separate rooms. And I let them know that they're going to be together. So that's the unity. But I'm keeping them both informed, where they then come together and they work like a business arrangement. Natalia, did you have a question?
Of course I do. I wanted, Laurie, because you have developed this a few years ago, not to say a little longer than that, and it's been serving people well for years. What sort of feedback did you hear that you want to share to show how it helped to people? What sort of opinions did you get from your clients after they used that?
It's interesting because they just take it for granted that is a tool. They know Excel, so they just go ahead and put their information in, and then we use that to look at a property settlement. And if anybody knows Excel, you know that it calculates the totals very, very, very quickly. But I can tell you that even in the last year, I only had one couple who did not use it. And that was a couple in their 70s, and neither one knows Excel. So I entered the information for them, but we use Divorce Savvy. And when we put it up on the screen, they both go, oh, well, now we understand what it is. We can see the numbers. We can understand what our estate is. But I've had practically everybody who calls in chooses to get the software. They're given a choice, and they do
Laurie,
it.
The Divorce Savvy is outstanding. This is Manousso Musing with Laury Adams of Divorce Savvy. Thank you so much for giving your information and your professionalism all these years. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
And Natalia, Mac, thank you.